Welcome back to SportsCheck on this Monday morning. It is the 27th day of September 2021, World Tourism Day it is. And so a lot of stories coming from Mombasa, and Michael Mwandiga, we did speak with him, and Governor Ali Hassan Joho will be out there. And also keeping up with Cabinet Secretary Chelugui with signing an African Labor Relations Act and making sure that it's improved. That's another story we are keeping up with. And in Murang'a County, specifically in Kegumo Sub-County, the Cabinet Secretary for Health, the Honorable Mutahi Kagwe, will be laying the foundation stone for the Kegumo Sub-County Hospital and also address the country on the Covid-19 situation. We'll get into a second interview, and we're talking about golf. It's the fairways and the tee boxes, the greens, and everything to do with that. We've got the Premier Tour, the Safari Tour, and it started yesterday, the first leg of 10 events that Kenya is going to host at the Sigona Golf Club. And to get into a conversation about that, we're joined by the Tournament Director, Kenya Open Golf Limited, Patrick Obath. He's going to be joining us. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
All right. And as we get into this conversation, bottom right of your screen is our sign language interpreter, Anne Wangeshi. And Patrick, this season is back. We have it back for it's the fourth season. What has been the growth from when the tour started, when you had the first season, on to the second, the third that came to a close earlier this year, and now the fourth one?
I think the key growth parameters that we've had in the event is the numbers that have come through, but also the other growth area is the diversity of players that we have. And then the third growth is also in the prize money. Those are the three growth areas that we have seen. So if you take the first event that we had in season one, the first event we had about 20 odd golfers participating. And that time people were still very unsure about the tournament, the tour. They didn't know whether it was going to go on, and they didn't believe you were going to pay prize money and whatever it is. So there's a bit of skepticism. But it's great that starting season 4, we had 62 entries. And 62 entries from 20, that is big.
Yes.
And our target is to reach about 124. So we are 50% of the way there. And if you look from season 1 to now, 20 to 64, we expect that by next season, we should be getting to 124. And especially if the evolution that we're talking about prize money comes through.
And you mentioned diversity as the second one. Tell us about the diversity change in the golfers at the Safari Tour.
The first season, we had mainly Kenyans playing with one Ugandan. That's Philip Kasozi, who has been coming every season. And we'd like to really thank him for his support that way. And right now, as we started yesterday, we had 8 countries represented in the event. And so we've grown from Kenya only to 8 countries. And which countries are represented? We have Tanzania, we have Kenya obviously, we have Uganda, we have Rwanda, we have Zambia, we have Zimbabwe, we have Nigeria, and we have South Africa. So those are the 8 countries that are now participating regularly in the Safari Tour.
Now, and we'll talk about the prize money much later, but now that you've mentioned the 8 countries, this year, Kenya hosted 2 back-to-back European Tour events. One was the magical Kenya Open, then the Kenya Savannah Classic, but under strict Covid-19 protocols. How then, what were the learning lessons from operating a bubble tournament, and how then you'd now run the tour, given that travel between countries is 100% subject to the COVID protocols?
We're taking that into account. The fact that every player who's coming in has got has had a PCR test, and then they're coming in to play in golf. And one of the beauties about where we sit now is that golf is very much an open air sport. So the distancing, social distancing, and everything else is guaranteed in that. What we've done is we're organizing rapid checks for the players. We're also asking them to give us their self-declaration for each day.
Yes.
And they also need to have had a PCR test coming in from outside. For the players internally in Kenya, we're just using the normal government guidelines on that. We have not gone through into a full bubble. We're into a semi-bubble. So we're asking the players primarily to create their own self-isolation in this particular process. If the numbers get bigger, right, and during the course of the season, then we are going to go into a much more strict bubble where we will be testing players every morning and asking them to stay in one hotel and so forth. But now the foreign players are staying right next to the tournament venue, which is with us, so they're staying right next door in one place. So if anything happens, then we know that that is a place that they've had contact in.
What were the learning lessons from the Savannah Classic and the Magical Kenya Open on handling an event using that process?
I think the key thing is is just the discipline. When you operate in a bubble from that kind of thing, everybody who is on one side, on the bubble side, you have to stay in one place, you have to transport in one place, you have to eat in one place, and you are playing in one place, and you're kept out of contact with the rest of the public. And also the officials. I mean, I went into the bubble, so I said bye-bye to my family. I'm going for a week or 2 weeks, and that was it. So it's something it was very new to us, and I believe that the learnings from that have been used to run the other international events that are now being run in Kenya.
Now, the other one is how then, for example, talking about the tour some times back, the golfers would say, all right, we're moving from this town to this town, and it at times gets to, how would I call it? I mean, at times it's a cost, because this is their job.
Yeah.
How have you now tried to set out the calendar for, say, like the 10 Kenyan events, such that the golfers operate cost effectively?
What we've done this year, and this is in response mainly to the players and to the others, is that we have now set the events back to back in one location, and then back to back in another, and so forth. So, like, you'll find that the first 3 events are going to be in Nairobi, and then the next 2 events are going to be at the coast, and they're going to be back to back. So when you go to the coast, we'll have Nyali, and then we have Leisure Lodge played back to back, and then here we have Sigona, and then there's Vetlab, and then there is what's the third one? There's a third one. I think that it will be maybe Royal. So that's 3 back to back. So they're playing this weekend, next weekend, the weekend after, and straight after that they'll go to the coast. So there's no break. And that is, when you talk about the players coming from the other 8 countries, that means that they can be here for a 5-week period and play continuously, and then they go back, they take a break, and then towards October, towards the end of the middle of November, towards the end, we'll probably get events then in Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and then they can do that circuit. And then early next year, when it comes closer to the event, they're back in Nairobi for 4 events. Yeah.
Now, let's talk about that regional expansion. The Uganda Open is lucrative. Every Kenyan golfer, basically, you tell him to play here, he'll tell you, no. Kampala. Yeah. I mean, let me go for the Uganda Open. Yeah. Tell us about Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania.
Yeah. The Uganda Open, which is the most lucrative event on the Safari Tour at the moment. Rwanda is coming back. They've just renovated their golf course from 9 holes to 18 holes, and they've got an international management team running Rwanda, and they're also looking at a prize purse of between $30,000 and $50,000, so slightly more than Kenya and slightly less than Uganda. Tanzania, at the moment, we're still working to look for sponsors, but it's likely that Tanzania will also be at $30,000. So the prize money is going to be roughly in that kind of range when we go into regional, which will hopefully attract Kenyan players to go and play in those regional events.
Here comes the prize money factor. Then I want to talk about it. $30,000 is what you're talking about. I mean, is your target, or around 30 to 40,000. But at the moment, what's the structure, and what's been the growth over the 4 seasons?
When we started off, we had $1 million total sponsorship, $1 million shillings, $10,000, and out of that, 30% was being spent on organization, and 70% on the prize money. And that was season 1. Season 2, we then guaranteed a minimum of 750,000 shillings, which was about the same as season 1. Season 3, we went up to $1 million as a guarantee, but we ended up working between 1 million and 2.5 billion. We had 2 events at the 2.5 million, and the rest were at 1 million. Season 4, we are guaranteeing a minimum of 2 million per event.
Yes.
That's what we're putting on, and we're in discussion with several sponsors, and with believe we can increase that one in the subsequent events to 3 million, which will be, I think, will be in a good space. And the reason we're going to 3 million is because the Safari Tour wants to now count towards ranking on the official World Golf Ranking. And we can only do that if we have a minimum purse of $30,000, which is 3 million shillings.
Actually, yeah, because I mean, at the Kenya Open, we realize all Kenyans are ranked 1821.
Yes.
So you want to see them move, unless somebody like Greg Snow, who's played in other tours. And what's the process and the demands of the World Golf Ranking for the professionals?
For us to qualify our events to participate in the official World Golf Ranking, there are several. One, we need to have prize money of at least $30,000. So we are targeting 35 per event.
Per event.
Yes, so that is for all the events as a prize purse. The second one is we need to have a minimum field of 124. So we've got to grow from the current 64 that are 60 odd that we have, and I think the best field we've had is about 83. So the players are there, but that means you've got to attract players from outside.
Yes.
And the only way you can attract them is to increase the prize money. So those are the two. So the prize money is key. And then the third one is that we need to have a fully functional recording system. So we've got an what's called it's called OCS, which is from South Africa, but actually based in Europe.
Yes.
And that one links into the official World Golf Ranking, and we need to run that for at least a year. So we're going to start that within the next month or so to run this season. And the last one is that we have to be recommended by an existing member of the official Golf World Ranking. And we are looking. We're in discussion with the Challenge Tour, which we had a lot of work with, for them to become our sponsor.
Yes.
And also we intend to have next year 2 or 3 Challenge Tour events in the region. One in Kenya, one in Tanzania, one in Uganda. If we can get them to agree, so that we actually have some, we have that bond between us and the Challenge Tour.
Coming to that, then, let's talk about some of the other changes that are coming up. And I'm sure my director's got some of the pictures, and we'll see this. I saw something that, the distance measuring devices that people have been allowed in professional golf. What's the whole aspect of having that?
You have, normally in most tournaments, you have a yardage book.
Yes.
Which tells you certain features on the course, on each hole, and with those features, you have a very good view of the distance to the pin when it's placed, and you also have a map of the green. But those features, you then have to pace between the feature that is on the book and where your ball is actually sitting. So what the world golfing bodies have agreed is that people can now use distance measuring. So that means you can get an exact distance, and that is the quality of play now is such that somebody says shoot, can we fly it 37 yards or 150 yards, right? Fly it 150 yards or make it 180 and then it rolls back.
Yes.
Or fly it 157 and then it will roll forward. That is the accuracy of information that they require for them to be able to shape the shot they're going to play. So the distance finders gives them that accuracy. I think it's plus or minus a yard or two, for them to be able to actually now properly shape their shots.
The other one is how you select the courses, because a lot of people ask, why can't we have this event, say, at Machakos or Nyeri or maybe Nyanza?
Yeah.
How are these courses selected?
The first criteria for us selecting a course to play the Safari Tour is the fact that we require them to have 18 holes. That's the minimum. The second, we would like the club to have good agronomy. So the greens and the fairways and the tees have got to be of a certain standard. And the key reason we want that is that it allows us and our team to then set the level of challenge. If the tees are of a certain quality, the fairways of a certain quality, and the greens of a certain quality, we can increase the speed of the greens. We can cut the fairways very thin so that people have have to be very accurate as to how they hit the ball. We can reduce the amount of watering. We can increase the amount of watering. So it gives us a lot of opportunities, and it means therefore, depending on the way the course has been designed and set up, we can then set it up to offer some reasonable challenge to the players.
Reasonable challenge, because then something else that happens, the pin, what in non-golfers would say, the hole.
The hole, yeah.
Yes, you keep moving it.
Yes.
Every day, the positions.
Yeah.
Tell us how that is decided. I mean, you can use my table, for example, as an example.
As an example.
Yes.
Okay. Let's take this as a green. And the approach to the green is from, say, behind me.
Yes.
So that's the direction they'll come in. And say that the place they're going to play next, the tee, is over to where you are. So what you normally do is to try and make sure that the traffic goes in a particular direction. So on the first day, you would probably put the pin at this corner. So people come in here, and then if they're going, they'll probably leave from that corner. So the traffic will go in that direction. So you'll have a lot of movement here.
Yes.
So the second day, you'll set it. No, sorry, the first day you'll set it at the exit.
At the exit.
Yeah. So they'll all come in from whichever direction the ball has come in, but they'll all exit from there. The second day you'll set it at the entrance. See. So that most of them will be coming in from here, and then they'll be going there.
Yes.
So the traffic will be a lot in here. And if you try and then putt, if it was here and they've been using it for 2 days, the green may be slightly damaged. So on the third day and the fourth day, you then move further up, away from the exit and entrance to the green. And that means that you have the best setting each time in terms of the way the green is set.
And it makes sure that when the members decide to go play, they do not find that it is damaged.
It is that all the wear has happened in one particular place. But also, we choose positions on the green that sometimes, the last day is when you set the really juicy pin positions that become quite tough. Although normally we have 6 easy positions, 6 medium positions, and 6 difficult positions every day. But on Sunday, those 3 are more difficult than the 3 options that you had on the first day. Yeah.
The other one that people talk about that came about, I think, about 5-6 years ago, is the state of the course. Say, on the opening day, especially for the greens, do you still use the Challenge Tour standards?
No. We are currently using the European Tour standards.
European Tour.
What we've done, we have every year, or twice a year, we have an agronomist who comes to Kenya to assess the Kenya Open course. And every time they come, we also ask them to check 1 or 2 other courses where the safari tour is going to be held. And they normally give a treatment report that will probably last for 2-3 years. So like last year when the agronomists came, we took them to Windsor, we took them to Muthaiga, and I think we took them to Royal. So those courses have got a report which they've got to follow and develop their courses. This year, the agronomist was here yesterday, over this last weekend. He went to Sigona and gave them a full report of what they need to do. And when he comes back, we're going to take him, in fact, we're bringing him back towards the end of the year. And we want him to go to 2 courses that we have not used yet because we are not very happy with the agronomy, the state of the course. We want to take him to Kitale, and then take them to Nakuru, because we have not played the safari tour in that part of Kenya, and we really need to make the safari tour something that spreads across the whole country. Yeah, and that is we have not gone there purely because of the course. So he'll come here and he'll go there. He'll give them a report on what they have to do, and then it may take a year depending on how well they are sort of funded to get the courses into the condition which allows us to take the safari tour.
Looking at specific things, when it comes to how green the greens are, how then do you manage, for example, a course like Sigona, which is altitude, well-watered, rains at any point?
for each particular course, obviously they've got a certain type of grass that they have on the course. And then, so what the agronomist does, they look at that and they say, fine, this is the kind of watering regime you need to have. This is the number of times you've got to sort of make holes in the greens and put sand in it so that it drains better. And if it's a wet area, then obviously you look at the drainage and you make sure that they've got enough drainage. I remember that with Karen, they used to have, I think it is hole number 12. Which always used to be very wet.
Yes.
Any time that it rained, so it meant that we would, it would make it very difficult for the players. So we asked them to create a drainage, and they went one stage further. Actually, they went and said, "No, we not create drainage. We put a big water feature." So when you go there now, you find a big pond, a big water feature, where now all the water drains into that place, and now they have animal, the birds coming there, whatever it is. So they've actually taken opportunity of draining that fairway by creating that water feature, and so that stays dry now.
Yeah. And offers a challenge now.
Yeah, it offers a challenge as well. From if you miss your way, you're in water. Before you're in a sort of a wet place, so you could take a drop, but now it's in water and it's gone.
For you to reach these numbers, 124 that you're talking about, how then is you work with the professional golfers of Kenya? How well are you? I mean, what kind of encouragement are they giving to golfers to turn professional and get onto the tour?
I think if you go back to the reason why we established the Safari Tour, was that there wasn't really an organization that does a lot of work in terms of funding and whatever it is, completely independent of players. So Safari Tour is purely like an event management company. That's what we are, right? And the professional golfers, their job is not to manage the professionalism of the golf. And they will look at players, they know what they need to do to become professionals, they do the checks on them and everything. But in time, what we intend to do is to develop the Safari Tour to also have what you call qualifying schools and everything else. So people can qualify to the tour through a very well-structured process. And then they can come in. And the other key thing is, if the prize money grows, then a lot of the talent that you have not been has not been turning to golf. People have got good talent. They go through up to university. They look at golf and they say, "Kuna pesa hapo." There's no money, so they go into the business and they whatever, and they never turn professional. But if they can be earning good money in golf, then you'll find that talent coming into golf. And we intend that's why I want to increase the prize money to $330,000 within the course of this year. And we target within 2 years to get to $50,000. Then people can take golf professionalism as a career option.
And then it comes down to how golf works. After 2 days of play, there is a cut that's made. So, but for the Safari Tour, you made a decision, I think, towards season 2, that you will make it difficult for Piga Mingi players to stay on the tour or any event after day 1.
Yes, I mean, at this level of play, there are certain options. You can never allow everybody to play until the second day, and then you have the official cut. But we made that decision because we realized that there are some people who really have not been putting their hearts into professionalism. So if you play, after the first day, you're playing 86 plus. I mean, you're never going to recover. So we're telling you, man, please don't waste your time. Just go and practice and enter the next event. Because at that level, even if you played, you need to play 6 shots better than the course on the following day, or even more. In fact, because you're 12 shots, 14 shots over the course.
Yes, 14
right?
over the course, yes.
So you need to play that the following day to actually have a chance of qualifying. And that is going to be very difficult, because that means you got to play that and everybody else has got to stay where they are for you to come into the qualifying range. So we just said, listen, let's make that cut. In other instances, in other countries, some will apply the rule. The actual cut is not plus 14, it's plus 8.
So, well, there's a reprieve for them. Then comes the day 2 cut. You have a field of 62 at Sigona today.
Yeah.
But you only want 20.
Yes.
To play for the prize money. What standard now? I mean, if I was to look at the Magical Kenya Open, where you've got a field of about 156,
yeah.
then you come down to around 60. Can you use the same percentage for the tour, or are you looking at making the end prize money good?
We're looking at two things. One is making the end prize money good, but also it depends on the field size. When the field size reaches 100, we'll move to 40. Right? And when it goes to 120, we move to 60. So that's really where we're going. Yeah, and by that time, obviously, again, the quality of play will be much better. And so you won't be having a cut where you've got people who have played a 2-day total of maybe 160. Yeah, you want people who have played a 2-day total of something close to about 144, 130 thereabouts to make the cut. Yeah.
This is also part, you use the order of merit of the Safari Tour for qualification to the Kenya Open Golf Championship. How are you going, what are the key things you're looking at? Number one, Kenyans on the tour, and number two, you mentioned the 7 other nationalities. If these other members of other countries can now qualify for the Kenya Open.
Yes, what we have, and this is the agreement, this is the global standard with the European Tour. They normally allow you 8 nationals, 8 what we call sponsors picks, and then 6 amateurs.
Yes.
So what we've done, the 6 amateurs, we don't do it. We've asked the Kenya Golf Union to do that, right? If we did it, we would actually do it slightly differently. We'd pick in Kenya the winner of the amateur stroke play, the amateur match play, and then the overall season winner, 3 people. And then the other 3, we would pick 3 amateurs from other countries who are about to turn pro. And we bring them here to sort of encourage our own amateurs. That is how we do it.
Like the case of Langask,
who came the other time, yeah?
Yes.
That was, we actually made a special request, and one of the Kenyans dropped out for a reason, and Langask came in, right? But that's how we'd like to do it in the future, and we have to convince the Kenya Open to go in that, Kenya Golf Union to go in that direction. So that's the first group, the amateurs. Then the 8 nationals, we can choose which nations we call nationals. So we could say it's East Africa. Then we'd say there's 8 East Africans, and then we'd pick the top East Africans there. But what we decided is to make the nationals Kenyan. So there's 8 Kenyans, and then the other 8, which is what you call the sponsors pick, 2 of them must have the European Tour card. The other 6, what we do is we look at what would best promote the Kenya Open. And we believe that if we take 3 of the regional players, that will actually improve the subscription to the Safari Tour. But also by having 3 of them from the rest of Africa, it also promotes tourism into Kenya. Because those countries that you pick the 3, they'll be watching their national player playing in the Kenya Open.
Yes.
And during that, they'll also get to know a little bit about Kenya because of the publicity that we do. Sometimes we also use that for a sponsor. If a sponsor has got a specific need, we can allow the sponsor to invite a player who meets the criteria. In the 2019 edition of the Kenya Open, we invited, on behalf of the Kenya Tourism Board, players from Korea, from India, and from Europe. Right, so Thomas Bjorn came to play here.
Yes.
He was a Ryder Cup captain, right? And so that gave us...
It gave a boost, actually.
It gave a boost.
I remember covering it. Everyone was interested in...
Yeah,
we want to speak to Thomas Bjorn.
exactly. So the European had that positive. Then we had somebody from Korea as well. He didn't have a card for the European Tour, so we invited him directly. Then we had Subanka Sharma from India.
All right, Patrick, let me interrupt you because we've got to join the government spokesperson, Colonel Retired Cyrus Oguna. Let us listen in, and we'll get back to the invitation that he's talking about.
Can be able to dichotomize in a positive way. And therefore, what we are asking the media is that even as they are reporting, that they should report putting the interest of the country first. Because at the end of the day, this country belongs to all of us. When the balloon goes up and everything goes down south, it is us who will be left with the responsibility to rebuild what we shall have caused ourselves to destroy. When I say us, I mean ourselves as Kenyans, including members of the media. So each time there's an election, what we're reminded about is what has happened in other countries that we know about, where the media played a very, very critical role in dividing the country and fomenting violence. We do not want to go that direction, and therefore we are appealing to members of the press that you must always be objective, you must always put the country first.
Yeah, the media is here trying to work out on guidelines that is going to guide them during the election campaign. And as you see, there are stakeholders in the internet and other channels that MCK has no control over. As a government, how are you going to help the MCK?
MCK is actually a government entity. It is not, the government must work through certain agencies. So those are the implementing agencies. So there is no other different arm of the government to control. It is this. Now, MCK works together with the courts in the sense that if there's a case to enter, then it will be taken to a court of law. But there's no government that's different from MCK. MCK is the implementing arm of the government in terms of regulations. So there's MCK, there is CAK, and of course KFCB about film, and of course the Film Commission. So those are arms of the government that are actually the implementers. Yes. I think that is all. Good. Thank you.
So that is Colonel retired Cyrus Guna. He's a government spokesperson, and he was speaking in Kisumu. And the event that was taking place, is the Media Council of Kenya is launching the election reporting guidelines. Chola Simon and Wycliffe will be giving us that report much later. So we get back to a conversation. It's about golf, and it's about invitations to the Kenya Open and how the Safari Tour works around that. And so, Patrick, you were telling us about Thomas Bjorn having been invited under the auspices of the Kenya Tourism Board. So you could wrap up on that. Yeah,
so sometimes the 8 additional players that we have, as I said, 2 are from the European Tour, and then the other 6 we play around with. And so in 2019, we actually invited 4 players for the KTB. In terms of the countries that they were targeting, so there was 3. One was from Korea, the other one was from India, and then we had 2 from Europe, 4 of them. And then we had 2 others who we decided to invite from the Safari Tour. So the Safari Tour, the regional ones, or the rest of Africa, we will normally, now we decided we'll take 3 from the rest of Africa and 8 from Kenya. Last year we had a special situation where, because of the numbers that they were getting because of COVID restrictions, we had 10-10. So we're going to go back to 8-8 because the competition of spaces is going to be a lot higher now that they've managed to control COVID. But last year people were a bit sort of 50-50 about traveling, so we had a few more.
All right. Finally, there's something else that's unusual about the Safari Tour. You allow the amateurs and the women to play. What's the reason as it's closed?
Okay. When the Safari Tour started, we were actually challenged by His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta and said, why can't Kenyans win the Kenya Open? When are we going to have a Kenyan win this money so that he doesn't go away? And at least we have a chance of putting it here. So the Safari Tour was developed as a development tour. So when we started off, it was the professionals who we have. But we realized that we need to have a pipeline. And the pipeline is the amateurs, the elite amateurs, and also the juniors. So now we are trying to move that way. So we are allowing elite amateurs, juniors, and we also decided the women in golf have nothing really in terms of an ambition. So we thought we'd allow the women, and these are the amateurs, to play in the Kenya Open, to prepare them and give them practice at a higher level. So the amateur teams, the amateur women and the amateur men, will get sufficient practice for them to represent the country outside. So that's why we've allowed them to play. We have 10 positions at any given time for the amateurs and the elite juniors to play in the Kenya, in the Safari Tour.
In the Safari Tour.
Yeah.
Well, because normally you wouldn't have the women playing at, say, the Kenya Open unless they were playing at the ladies' European Tour, which what took place in the country in 2019 was at Vipingo, and we hope to see it back again. We've been speaking with Patrick Obath, Tournament Director at the Safari Tour. Thank you very much. And let's hope later this afternoon. Let's see how the pros have played. See which 40 will miss out. I hope the standards are good. What happens if there is a tie and your number goes above 20, but you may want to do 20? Are you going to use something I've seen with the European Tour where there's a death recut?
No. We are just using 20 plus ties. So if the ties are 20, we'll have 23 or 24. That's okay. Yeah.
Well, we shall be keeping tabs on that. The Safari Tour. The first leg is being played at the Sigona Golf Club. We'll keep tabs on it. Thank you very much, Mr. Obath. We'll take a little break, and when we get back, let's talk football, because our Kenyan girls got a hammering from Uganda, and the FKF Premier League is back.